My name is Sister Carole Riley. I'm a Sister of Divine Providence from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The focus of these talks is going to be on becoming a celibate lover or maturing in celibate love. And in the compilation of materials for this, I'm very much indebted to the men and women who have shared their lives with me. And I thank them now for allowing me to share their stories, although their names have been changed to protect their identities. To begin with, I would like to look at some definitions of celibate love. Leonardo Boff talks about the integration of the masculine and feminine within ourselves. O. Mercue describes intimacy and celibacy as needing to have a combination of solitude and community. Kiesling describes celibacy as grace, as gift. Sandra Snyders and the Vatican II talk about chaste loving which frees the heart. The person has a spousal relationship with Christ, so there's a type of mystical grace that accompanies our choice of celibate loving. So celibacy is a way to love. It's a way to be in the world, as distinct from being married or coupling. Father Adrian Van Kom has greatly influenced my thinking with his development of the science of foundational formation. He takes the theory and looks at especially the vows and says that the vows themselves are attitudes of living, attitudes towards life. So that in poverty I respect things, in celibacy I have a reverence and a respect for all relationships and people, so that in committing myself to celibacy I'm not doing anything more than the normal Christian does, but I am vowing in a public way to do that. I'll use a number of Father Van Kom's constructs throughout the initial presentation. So for Father Van Kom, celibacy is a foundational attitude of reverence for all of life. We also hear of celibacy described as a vacancy for God. So there is a type of loneliness and limitation that I embrace when I experience the call to celibacy. Vatican II, as I said, looks at the chaste heart, the heart that is free. I'd like to spend a little bit of time on the definition by Richard Sipe. He says that celibacy is a freely chosen, it's a dynamic state, one that should bring life, so that in my growing, in my maturation, I look at the life that celibacy brings me. It's usually vowed. I'm not obliged to take the vow of celibacy, but it's a call. And in the vow, I make a public statement for the future. I am a witness of the church. He continues that this celibacy involves an honest and sustained attempt. So there's a lot of trying, trial and error that most of us go through. Now the fortunate part for us is that we're starting as a church to describe our own journeys in celibacy. Many of us who were spiritual directors knew people's stories. We knew from you how you were growing. Few of our communities have really talked among each other. Many of the studies say that a man, for example, will feel more intimate, more able to share his journey with celibacy with a woman, and that women initially share their journey one-on-one. For some of us, we have not shared the journey. So this kind of a tape session is a time for you to listen by yourself, to assess, ask yourself some questions about your own honest and sustained attempt to live. How? Sipe continues to live without direct sexual gratification. And he continues that this sacrifice of living without direct sexual gratification is in order to serve others, to be productive, to be alive, and for a spiritual motive. So we're counting on a mystical graced element in this definition. So we continue and we say, who are we as celibate people? We are people, first of all, with vital needs and reactions. There's a certain bodily aspect, a reaction that says we're not free. For example, certain things arouse me. I may find myself emotional over a Beethoven sonata, over a sunset. I find myself emotional or physically aroused, and I haven't consciously willed that. That could be a person or a movie. So in regard to chastity, genital desire, for the woman arousal, for the man erection, this can come spontaneously and subside spontaneously. So on this first level of humanness, we are primarily yearning to touch, to hold, to be touched, to give so as to be stimulated or excited. That's our natural way as human beings. So we accept ourselves as humans and we start to learn, who are we? What are our needs? What are our bodily reactions? Secondly, we are people with psychological needs. Needs for friendship, affect, social contact, acceptance, recognition, love, care, attention. But we're limited in what we can do for ourselves. In many of these studies on celibacy, we've seen a lot of language of codependence. So when we look at our psychological needs, we're going to be looking at our family of origin, how we were raised, the kind of verbal abuse that we may be seeing, the movement towards a male sexuality, the kind of healing of the sexual self that we talk about. We also, when we look at ourselves as celibates, are looking at a third level, the level of spiritual need, the level of limitation, the level of potential. So we look at this question, who are we as celibate lovers? And we've said that we are persons who can consider themselves to be in a field of formation. And here I use Father Van Kam's field theory, where the self, the celibate, needs to be recognized as in relationship with an other. So I asked myself the question, who knows my heart? In the beginning of my own religious life, we were told to deny our emotional expression. And as a musician, playing the piano was very important. So when I would play the piano, I would often have the conflict, can I feel this music, or is that somehow not celibate when I get so emotionally involved? So that I learned through working with a thing, the instrument of music, that it was important for me to have relationships with people. In Father Van Kam's theory, we have the self, but we also have the self that needs to be in relationship with a heart other. So I need to learn in the very beginning of my celibacy how to love, how to self-disclose, and for some women that's easier than for the male, but that's a starting point, self-disclosure.